Attention!
Welcome to the Film Mages Podcast, where the popcorn is our ammunition, the couch is our foxhole, and the cinema is a place of worship.
Now let me see your war face. Ah!
Hello, Film Major fan base. How are you doing?
I'm doing good,
So
but
good.
I'm not.
That wasn't for you. That was the fan base. I was asking the fans. Wow.
Yeah. So we're back.
We are back.
We're back. The Purge cast is back. It's
Great.
I know you were missing it.
Why?
I know that you were missing me talking
that's what the
about
fans
the Purge.
were wondering about.
They were starving for
I'm
it.
missing talking about these movies I've never seen.
Wow. Yeah, Alexis, we gotta fix that. Anyways, yeah,
I think you would like the Purge films, actually.
They're good.
Here's
they're
the
fun and
thing,
campy.
is that I do actually often know that I probably will like things that you guys also like. Like I said, I just like to be very, very contrary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Film Majors. I'm Zach.
I'm Mick.
I'm Alexis.
Ooh.
God, I thought she wasn't.
Listen to the joy.
Thought she wasn't gonna do it this time.
I know. I thought she was going to pretend.
And yeah, we're what is it with you and pretending today?
It honestly didn't come. It just came out of the
What's with
ether.
the baby voice?
Yeah, he's been doing this baby voice.
Unnerved.
And we're recording in Mick's bedroom right now.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it
So
makes me
we're in the
very-
bedroom. I'm doing baby voice. Like one would ask, what's going on?
Oh my god! Fuck off! God damn
Is
it!
that the third one in a row I've gotten?
God, fuck! I'm off my game, man.
It's the green tea.
Yeah.
It's like
You know
it
what's
just.
so funny? I just feel like I forget about it every time we come into the podcast for the last couple months. Like, I just don't even, I'm just like, oh yeah, we're just talking.
Yeah.
I forget that that's even a segment we do anymore.
That's what we're
Even
going
though
for.
we do it
We're
every
hoping.
week.
We're hoping that's what the fans think too. Because every time they listen to an episode, they're like, "Whoa, oh, wow, out of nowhere! I didn't see it coming."
You know,
That's
and here we
exactly
are.
what
If you're-
all of our fans sound like.
Yeah, they all sound like a weird Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, they
type.
sound kind of like a plucky newsie.
What's going on? You guys, is this what's going on over here?
What the hell's going on?
Oh my god!
Well, what's going on with Mick
God.
and I is that we went out to the New Beverly Cinema last night
Yes, we did.
in the middle of a rainstorm.
We braved the rain.
Yeah, honestly,
Wow.
as Oregonians, it was pretty bad here in LA.
Yeah, it's like it's par for the course, but again, the infrastructure here is just not.
not built
not
for rain.
designed.
The city's not built for rain.
Yeah, I almost
it's not.
my car like legit jolted into the other lane twice on the way there.
Yeah, it's scary, but
It was worth it, though.
We braved the storm anyways, and we went to go
Fast were you
see.
going?
40 miles an hour.
Yeah, no, he wasn't going fast.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Anyways, but we went and saw a double feature of Ken Russell films.
Yes.
We saw 1980's Altered States
Very good.
and 1988's The Lair of the White Worm.
Weirdly, very good.
Yeah, they both fucking slapped. Ken Russell's a goddamn madman, and
Who's Ken Russell?
He did The Devils,
yeah.
a movie you love.
Oh, yeah, I did like that.
Yeah.
He's just like an incredibly strange British filmmaker. I've seen I've seen 4 of his movies. Going in, I had seen Tommy, which was the Who rock opera that he directed, and Listomania, which also stars Roger Daltrey of the Who.
I haven't seen those, and they played trailers for those 2 films in front of our double feature, and I really want to see them.
They're fucking nuts.
I
They're
love the
fucking
I've
nuts.
always wanted to see Tommy.
Tommy's a good movie.
It looks fantastic.
Personally,
Yeah.
as it stands right now, I think my favorite Ken Russell movie that I have seen is Altered States.
Interesting.
Lair of the White Worm is maybe a close second. They're very different movies. Altered States is like a heady sci-fi kind of psychedelic film.
Yeah.
And
Visuals are insane.
yeah, his movies are beautiful. And then Lair of the White Worm is like an insane, campy horror comedy starring who else but Hugh Mungo Grant.
That's right.
A very, very young Mr. Mungo.
He is funny.
He's hysterical.
He's really funny.
God.
Really?
It's fantastic. Alexis, you would love Lair of the White Worm.
Yeah, you'd really fuck with it.
It's so good. I really wish you had been there, Alexis. I think you would have had a really good time. Because again, I looked up The Devils on Letterboxd. I forgot to review that film, but you gave it 4.5 stars.
Yeah.
That was the only Ken Russell movie I had seen before these, and that movie is just, again, it made me so angry watching it, but it's a masterpiece, and it is just so balls to the walls crazy.
Can I just say this is a visual medium, so I just want to make sure to reinstate that I like this setup where I'm unnerved because you're both looking at me at the same time. So it's a little weird for me, but at the same time it's nice because I actually can tell that you're both looking and listening to me, and I love it when you guys get really close like that. Just feels like there's something magnetic in the air.
I think the last 20 seconds was very Ken Russell.
Yeah.
It was like, it kind of had this psychosexual vibe. It was a little weird, but it was entertaining.
Yeah.
Anyways, but no, The Devils is like super, super crazy, right? And so when we started watching Altered States and then consequently Lair of the White Worm, I was kind of like, I felt that this is kind of mainstream of him. Like, it feels like more of your typical narrative film.
Yeah, more of a straightforward movie.
But then at some point in both of the movies, you just get walloped with his typical absolutely cosmic, wacky, bohemian visuals. Like, I don't even know if that's a correct description of it, but it's nuts.
Yeah, I think that Lair of the White Worm is probably his most straightforward narrative of any of his movies.
It's not a straightforward film.
It's still nuts.
It's still wacky.
It's, visually crazy and, like, just has a fucking insane sense of humor. But, like, I think is the most conventional story he's told.
Amanda Donahoe is so good as Lady Martin.
I'm just really impressed by Ken Russell because I feel like he makes pretty surreal, like, artsy, crazy, psychedelic movies, but I never have a hard time following them.
Yeah.
Like, there's a logic that makes sense to me. I've really dug everything of his that I've seen. I'm very excited to watch The Devils. I'm gonna hop on that soon.
You were gonna love it. If there's any movie I know for a fact you're gonna love, it's that one.
Fuck yeah.
You'll dig it.
So, Alexis, if at any point you can watch either of those films, we highly recommend.
Particularly for you, Lair of the White Worm.
I would 100% send that to me by text because I will
not
100% forget that you even mentioned it.
We'll put it in the
by
group
the time
chat.
we finish this podcast.
We'll put it in the new group chat, which the fans should know about.
They don't need to. Alexis, have you seen any films since we last recorded?
I actually have seen some new films since we last recorded. Actually, the majority of them I watched at your guys' apartment.
Gasp.
Wow. What were they?
Yes. Actually, one of them was the one that you watched with me, Naiad.
Yes, we watched Naiad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that?
Annette Bening, very, very fucking good. Honestly, I always think of her as like an American Beauty. So it's kind of wild to see her. I don't know. I mean, she's still kind of an unhinged character a little bit in this film, but she has the juice. That's all I can really say. And Jodie Foster did a pretty solid performance as well.
I would say when you say she has the juice, her tenacity is frightening.
Yeah.
Her tenacity is absolutely frightening. Like, she's a scary lady because she fucking believes in herself so much. I put in my review of Naiad that she's the Michael Jordan of the sea.
Yeah, she's like kind of like, at least, it's some good character development because like she starts the beginning of this journey kind of like narcissistically like thinking of it as like her journey instead of like the team's journey as well, since they are, you know, committing all of this time and resources to her as well.
As
and
I said,
do love
Michael
that,
Jordan
you
of
know,
the
by
sea.
the end of the movie, I don't really know.
Michael Jordan was
to be
very
honest.
like, I'm the fucking team. Like if there's a ball, you give it to me and then we'll win the game. And then throughout his career, he had to slowly be coached that no, everyone counts and everyone can support one another. And then that's when they just started winning fucking championship after championship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you're correct, Mick, and I hate to give you that concession, but there it is.
He's just staring dead ahead. He went offline. He went offline.
No, I was lost in the gaze of myself. I was looking at myself in the thing. I was like, are we having a staring contest? Okay, go right now.
Oh my God.
But no,
Visual media.
I had fun watching that with you and Jacorn Bean. It was a good time. However, I honestly, you know, it's a good film. Check it out. Great performances. But my issue with it is it has so many sound bites, clips, and interviews from the real event, because it's based on a true story, that are in the movie. Like, the story itself is so like fucking hard to believe, and it's true, that the amount of stuff that they put in there from the real event, I honestly thought this would have been better as a documentary.
Which kind of makes sense because the filmmakers also made Free Solo.
What is that?
The documentary about Alex Honnold free soloing El Cap.
Oh, they made that?
Yes, they made that.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that movie's incredible.
That's a fucking scary film.
Yeah, that is
shit.
one of the most stressful things I've ever seen in a movie.
Alexis's neck of the woods, Yosemite, because it's near Fresno. They go there
Indeed.
every weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, every weekend.
Every weekend.
That's
That's
canon. That's canon.
I'm gonna.
Everyone in Fresno goes to Yosemite every weekend.
I'm gonna keep.
No wonder that
I'm gonna
park's
keep
always
pushing
so
that
busy.
narrative.
Yeah, no matter that it's an hour and a half away. No, every weekend we all make our way out there.
Alexis, what else did you see?
I also watched Loving Vincent, which was from a
Did you love
Polish
it?
animation studio. Oh my god, it was so fucking gorgeous. I mean, like, to be fair, also me and Jacoby had gone to the Getty Center like earlier that day and literally seen a Van Gogh painting like in person.
That's cool.
So I think yeah. And I mean, like, I personally, like, the Impressionism is like one of my favorite like art periods. I'm really particular to Renoir, and there was actually like a Renoir painting like at the Getty Center that I got to see. And so then when I saw the movie, I was like, wow, this is like both really beautiful and also incredibly fucking insane that this was a process that they did, like painting frame by frame. Like, I know how long it takes like Studio Ghibli to do mostly by hand like animation movies. So to see like a movie that's all about literally just painted frames is just wild to me. And I really did like the story. It was kind of like this one letter incites our kind of like character that we're following to kind of follow along the mystery thread of like gossip around this little town to figure out like why Vincent van Gogh, like what happened to Vincent van Gogh. Like trying to find meaning in the tragedy and reason when, you know, a lot of sometimes, you know, there just isn't. And that just is what it is. But it was really cool, have a new appreciation for Van Gogh. Even if I'm not saying his name probably correctly, that's fine.
Van Gogh.
And then I saw Van Gogh. Then I saw the Lego movie.
Okay, yeah, Alexis, you're dancing around. What did we see?
You're like
Mamma mia.
that's Zach's way of
Here
saying
we
cut
go
the shit with
again.
the
Shit,
film.
that's right. Yeah. Well, you know,
Jog in
I
the
was
memory.
working in the kitchen, so
Yeah,
I was
but
popping
you
in
saw
and
good
out
chunks
of like
it.
of seeing. Yeah, you know, it's to be fair, I think after you had left, I think Jacoby put Mamma Mia on again, or put the Mamma Mia Here We Go again on again. And I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
great,
it.
I'll
That
just
sounds about right.
listen to this all over again.
Fucking, let me just say, I rewatched Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again while Alexis was working in the kitchen.
Slaving away in the kitchen.
Yeah. No. I was watching Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
Right.
That's a fucking great movie. I love that movie. That movie slaps.
I agree so much.
Mick, I highly encourage you.
For it is a movie I have
seen. Someday,
I'm sure I'll watch it.
for this podcast, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We will do a Mamma Mia double feature, and you will be like astounded at the leap in quality.
Oh, from
between
the
the
first
first
one
and second Mamma Mia.
That's interesting.
Because like the first movie is fun,
Yeah.
but is like feels like a movie made by and for your drunk aunt. Mamma Mia, Here We Go
That's
Again.
me.
It's like, okay, so what if we took like these, like many of these same characters, and we like made a story with them?
Now, okay. Now you're talking.
Listen, I love both films for different reasons, but Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again is the superior film.
That kind of sounds like why I
Probably
love
some
Twilight
better
in the sequel.
choreography as well in the second one.
Yes, there's like actual like choreography during the musical numbers. It's not just like a drunken Meryl Streep stumbling around, which is also very fun to see.
Wait a minute. Is Meryl Streep in the second one?
And it has Cher.
Well, I don't want to spoil the premise of the second one, so I'm not going to tell you.
Because I kept walking in on one of the movies.
One of the Mammas Mia.
And Jacoby was like complaining to me that like, you know, what the hell, like Meryl Streep is credited in this and she hasn't shown up
that's the second
yet.
one. That's the second one.
Okay.
Well, listen, the second one. Okay, I'm just gonna spoil the premise of the
you
second
can
one.
spoil Mamma Mia
I don't
for
want
me.
to wreck it
It's
for
okay.
you. But the second movie is literally like taking the structure of The Godfather 2.
Okay.
So it is after the death of Meryl Streep's character,
Right.
And you are seeing Amanda Seyfried, her daughter.
Wait a minute, she dies?
Yeah.
At the end of the first one?
No, not in the movie, but between
Fucking
movies.
spoiler, dude.
Between movies.
Why would you spoil
Oh
that?
my god, you said!
That was before. I don't live in the past.
Oh my god.
We're in the now.
Anyways, so yeah, Amanda Seyfried is taking over her lovely quaint Greek hotel. It'll be okay, buddy.
Quaint Greek hotel?
Yeah.
Quaint Greek hotel. Say that 5
Quaint
times.
Greek hotel. Quaint Greek hotel.
Quaint Greek hotel. Quaint Greek hotel. Quaint Greek hotel. Quaint Greek hotel.
Anyways, and then in the past, Lily James is playing Meryl Streep.
Sorry, like,
And that's our Mamma Mia corner.
maybe we should review one of these films.
Mamma Mia.
Here we go
It was
again.
great.
That's cool.
Yeah, here we go again.
There we go again, folks.
But I did like the Lego movie. It was cute. Everything is awesome. I'm gonna continue to annoy the fuck out of people with that one for a while, so
Well,
it'll be great.
You know, it's nice to get there.
What did you think of Liam Neeson as the cop?
Oh, I love that. I actually got really sad when his face got rubbed off with rubbing alcohol. That made me sad.
Yeah, when they rub Good Cop's face off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that made me really sad, but I was happy when he got his face drawn on again, even if it was a little wonky. I actually genuinely like teared up during like the live action father and son scenes. So I thought that the movie had like a really good message, you know, that like you don't have to be special, you know, you can just,
Right.
and also just like about kids, you know, like things don't need to be perfect. You can let go of that and just let kids be kids, you know, and I thought it was really cute. And then I watched Treasure Planet.
I still need to see that.
Fucking love that movie.
I was so into that movie when I was a kid. I haven't seen it since.
I fucking love that movie.
Listen.
I have the song from Treasure Planet like on like multiple of my Spotify playlists because it's just a banger, you know?
That's a title made up of two very cool words. So like I'm in on seeing that movie at some point. Real quick, I just want to talk about since it is Black Cinema Month, Mick and I did watch two films from Black filmmakers.
How did I forget?
Including one new watch for both of us.
Yeah.
That is currently my favorite first-time watch of this new year.
Same. What did we give it?
Okay.
We both gave this film 5 stars.
out
This
of
is
the
a
gate.
5-star film out of the gate. I've
Okay.
watched it multiple other times since we watched it.
Yeah, we've seen it twice since our last episode.
Okay.
Dynamite, dynamite.
Black
Oh my god.
Dynamite.
Oh my god.
I believe the director is Scott Sanders. If I had... Yes, Scott Sanders, starring Michael Jai White. If I had seen this movie prior to Black Cinema Month, I would have been pushing to cover it.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't have been pushing. We just would have done it.
It is so funny.
I just keep thinking about the dream that Mick had while I was in town.
Don't know what you're talking about.
And just knowing that you guys have watched that movie even more since then is just becoming funnier and funnier in my brain.
Yeah.
It is absolutely, honestly, I think you're right, Zach. It's like, it's up there with like Wet Hot American Summer or the best of the comedies as being so good.
Yeah,
so
the
funny.
number of jokes in this movie is just crazy. And also, like, watching it immediately after watching Shaft and Sweet Sweetback, the like level of research and care taken to make this movie look like a blaxploitation film is like incredible. They shot it on 16 millimeter film. It came out in 2009. It looks like it came out in 1975. I cannot sing its praises enough. Michael Jai White is like heading into the category with Ryan Gosling of you can't be this funny and this hot.
He's so charming and so fucking funny.
He is hysterically funny and can legitimately do kung fu.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you haven't seen Black Dynamite and you enjoy comedies,
you have to see it.
Get on it.
Yeah, you
get
have
on.
to see it.
I can't believe it took me so long to watch this movie.
It's an hour 20, right?
An hour 25.
It feels like a 2-hour film because so much happens in it.
Yes.
You're amazed how short it is.
A lot.
It's so good.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we also watched Undercover Brother, which I didn't like as much.
Yeah, that was a movie from my childhood, which is it's okay. You know, it's something to put on. It's a harmless film.
You can watch it.
You can watch it. But yeah, no, Black Dynamite.
You can't watch it.
Fantastic. I remember when that movie came out in 2009. I remember seeing a trailer for it and wanting to see it. There was a poster of it at the local video store, and I just never got around to seeing it.
Yeah, that was like a
amazing
Blockbuster staple poster.
But yeah, fantastic. And then I watched my first new release of the year, I believe. Yeah, this is the first new one. It's technically a 2023 film, but its American release date was February 2024. The Promised Land, a Dutch film directed by Nikolai Arcel. It stars Mads Mikkelsen.
Is it Dutch or Danish?
It is Danish, excuse me.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Fuck you.
It's fantastic. I almost gave it 5 stars, which is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like the first fucking movie of the year, and it's like that incredibly good. Mads Mikkelsen is fantastic. He's so good.
I love that guy.
He's so tough in the film, and he's so headstrong, but he's also very tender. It's a very interesting performance that he does. And a lot of people are calling it a historical epic, which it kind of is, but it's mostly like a Danish Western. It follows that formula quite closely, but just the cinematography is insane. I cried so much during the film, and the story was going in a direction towards the last act where I was like, if this certain thing doesn't happen, I'm going to fucking riot. Because I was so invested in the story, and the movie gives me what that thing. And I was like, okay.
It gives you what that thing?
It gives me that thing that I wanted. And I was so happy, because if it didn't give me that, I was going to be very angry. That's how invested in the story I was. So if you're into period pieces, if you're into history, anything like that, it's absolutely worth a watch. It takes place during the 18th century. Basically a down and out captain from the army, a veteran, goes from combat to agriculture. And that's all I'll say. But there's this great scene. It's funny, I say that's all I'll say, and then I continue to talk. I'm the worst. There's this great scene where he's basically, he's farming and all this stuff, and then there's a siege. He performs a siege. And I love it because the whole movie you're watching this guy being so good at farming and doing everything he can. and you're like, God, I really believe in this guy. And then he starts performing combat in a very great sequence, and you go, that's right. This guy's a fucking army guy. He's a soldier. It was so good.
Yeah, I got to check that out.
Please, if you can catch it at a theater, Alexis, I think you would really like it. Again, Period Piece Palooza is going to be coming up at the end of the year. This fits right into that. Not saying we would ever review it, but it's really, really good. Check it out, folks.
All right. Alexis, you seen anything else?
I did. I saw The Zone of Interest last night.
Oh.
What'd you think?
Technically, cinematically, very good. I probably won't ever watch that movie again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of not, there's not a lot of like plot to it, and it's really not necessarily even like a character study, which, I really very partial to movies that are like character studies, if they're going to be kind of quiet and slow like that. I mean, cinematically, it's gorgeous. The fucking sound design is insane. It's great. I don't know. I really liked the segment where they go like kind of like night vision, like negative looking film kind of thing. It kind of reminded me of like the expressionistic era in like early 1900s. That was like a particularly like German thing. So there was a lot of elements to the movie that I really enjoyed. I just didn't overall love the film. I think of all of the Best Picture nominees, The Zone of Interest and Maestro are like my least favorite of like all of them. Like I could literally just like meh, whatever, I guess. I'm like, I mean, like technically it's kind of like how I feel about Maestro in a way where it's like, oh, like I look at it and I'm like, oh, it's beautiful, but I don't really give a shit. Not to say I don't give a shit about the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
I just, there were so many other really good movies last year that I'm like, I just wouldn't imagine myself ever choosing that to be like the best picture over all those other movies,
Yeah, I can see it is a hard movie to connect to because it kind of intentionally keeps you at a distance from its characters. I like The Zone of Interest a lot. I don't. Yeah, it's hard to. It's a challenging film. It is a challenging film, and like, yeah, if you are looking for a movie where you're feeling that like level of connection to the characters, it doesn't really give you that. Yeah, it's a very cold movie.
Yeah, it's not really a character study, but it's such a fascinating examination of humanity or the lack thereof.
It's a bad time.
Just human nature.
It's a bad fucking time.
But now you can see why we said you're not going to like it, but it is required viewing. Because it's not fun, but it's probably one of the more powerful movies I've seen in years. Like really,
it's definitely one of the best soundscapes I've ever heard.
Yeah. I think I think that the sound design was really powerful, and I mean, just in general, I mean, like everything that you keep in the background while you have just idyllic kind of family life in the foreground, just further sells the point of people can just go on with their lives while horrible fucking atrocities are happening like literally right in their backyard. So I mean, like, yeah, I just there's more movies that I would watch about the same thing over that movie, like any day kind of thing.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
No, I get it. Well, on that like fucking
is
down
that our
note,
segue?
I don't. Have we seen any other stuff? Because we're pretty.
No, but I have something very happy that goes with kind of our theme, but also the theme of love during the month.
All right, bring the vibe back up. Bring the vibe back up.
Inject us with love.
I saw this video. It was a clip from the Graham Norton show, and honestly, I love him as like an interviewer. He always has like a really interesting like mix of people to interview on his couch and shit. They had Coleman Domingo, right? And they were talking about Graham Norton was like, oh yeah, like misconnections on like Craigslist or whatever, you know, like people always think like nothing ever comes of that. But Coleman, like, tell us your story, right? And so Coleman is like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll tell the story. So I guess was living in New York, but he was in Berkeley for some reason. He's going to this Walgreens. And he sees this guy like out in front of the Walgreens, and I guess he's got like, I don't know, like a lip ring. Like he saw him and immediately was like, whoa, he looks good, you know? And then the guy kept looking at him too and was like kind of like maybe having an argument with his like friend who was a girl, and they kept like looking at each other, right? And so Coleman, like the other guy ends up walking away with the friend. Coleman finishes whatever he was doing in the Walgreens. I think he was getting like a facial mask or something, right? And this is back in like, I think he said like 2003 or 2005 or something. And so he thinks, because he says like, oh, I'm kind of that type of like hopeless romantic. Like, you know what? I'm going to come back in a week to this same exact Walgreens and just see if he's there. And he wasn't. So then he went on Craigslist because he was like, you know what, maybe nothing will come of it, but I'm going to put like a post out there, you know, that like, you know, I'm trying to look for this guy from fucking Walgreens, right? So he gets on the misconnection page and he gets to page 2. And that guy had literally posted an ad, I saw you outside of Walgreens 2 hours before he got on Craigslist that day. And they've been together for 19 years.
Oh, that's cute. Look at that. Love's alive.
Yeah. Like they went on a date and Coleman was like, yeah, I was trying to be a good boy and like not stay the night, but he asked me if I could stay over, and we just cuddled. And I guess at like 4 a.m, like was like assumed that the guy was asleep and had said something like, I know I don't know you, but like, this feels really special, and I think you're about to change my life. Like, I love you, and I think you're about to change my life. And then that's when he was like, and we've been together for 19 years since then. And I was like, that's insane and so fucking sweet. Like, beautiful. Anyways, so yeah. Coleman Domingo's happy story. That's for all of us in this wonderful time period of February.
There we go. Look at that.
That was great.
Vibe has been brought back up. Let's hop out of what's going on. And we're back.
Are we back? Are we recording?
We're so fucking back. We're more back than we've ever been. So, we are on to our second episode of Black Cinema Month.
Yes, I'm having a really good time with it so far.
Yeah,
this is really cool.
I've been watching a lot of good movies, and for today's topic, we are discussing some of the best cinematic dads.
Yeah.
Who are good father figures.
Yes. Although, to be clear, listeners, before you get too excited, this is not the best dad movies.
No.
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a different thing.
But there is some overlap here. I think we could find some overlap.
Upon occasion.
Yeah. But no, this best cinematic dads. Who are some dads in cinema that we just love them as characters. We want them to hold us tight. We want them to whisper in our ear that everything's going to be okay and that there's a fresh bowl of mac and cheese on the counter with your name on it, kiddo. Go get it, tiger.
Is that how your dad talks?
No, that's actually more how my mom talked.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start it out with Bob Odenkirk in Little Women.
I thought you were going to say From Nobody.
No, that is that is a dad film. That is the dad film.
Great choice, though.
But yeah, Bob Odenkirk as Mr. March. He's just like, he's so warm. One? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the old one.
You know.
Yeah. Again,
I always forget that he's in there.
Well,
It's so
I will never
short.
forget
I mean,
that
that's
he's
fair.
in that movie.
There's a lot happening.
I will never fucking forget that he's in that movie.
Because you're an ally of men.
Sure. But more to the point, when I saw Little Women, there was like an audible reaction in my audience when Bob Odenkirk showed up. People were fucking stoked to see him. And, you know, it's like he's a really warm presence. You understand how together him and Laura Dern have raised these girls to be like so tenacious and independently minded.
Yeah.
It's like you hear so much about him earlier in the movie and you're like, okay, so like when he shows up, who's it going to be? And when it's Bob Odenkirk, you're like, of course. That's the man who is, you know, co-parenting these girls with Laura Dern. And yeah, Bob Odenkirk.
Great pick. Alexis, do you have a favorite cinematic dad?
Yeah. I mean, Marlin from Finding Nemo.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. It was either that or Mufasa.
Just joking. I was gonna actually say, and you know what? This is another reason why I fucking hate Armie Hammer, because I love the dad in Call Me by Your Name. He might be one of my favorite parts of that film.
That's a great pick. That's a better pick.
Because,
That's a good pick.
yeah, because like every time I watched that movie before all the Armie Hammer stuff came out, I just felt really connected to what he had to say at the end about not letting yourself get, you know, hardened by bad experiences in your life, in love and just other things. And I really love the part where he calls his son out for like not wanting to dress up for their friends in the shirt that their gay friends like bought for him at some point, and says like, do you not like them because they're ridiculous or because they're gay? And just like literally just like calls him on his shit, you know? And maybe his dad's like a little off base there, you know, but I just really enjoyed him as a father. He seems very like, you know, he's intellectual, he's empathetic, and he has something to say in directing his son to have, you know, a good life, you know, to be a caring person, you know, and to have hope for the future. So really love that.
Yeah. I think another good one is Divine as the guy in Female Trouble.
Great dad.
Yeah, awesome dad. You know, just really
reminds me of my dad.
Sets a great. Oh fuck. No, Mick, please
like,
go
yo,
ahead.
is this a documentary?
Please go ahead.
They ripped off my life story.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to talk about a dad that I think we all really wish was there for us if the chips are down and things are getting rough. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you were looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money, but what I do have are a very particular set of
skills.
Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter or son go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you. That's right, folks.
Liam Neeson.
James Stewart from... oh, wait, no, it's a different one. Yeah, Liam Neeson from Taken. Come on. Right?
All right.
That's a good one.
Sure. Yeah.
No, that's a really good one. I really enjoyed watching that movie as a kid. I just loved seeing a dad. I think that was the first like dad revenge film that I saw. Where
that did kind of like reinvigorate the genre.
Yeah, it brought it back for sure. I mean, it not only that, it reinvigorated Liam Neeson's career. That was for better or worse. He's now in a movie every year that's basically Taken.
Yeah, that's true.
But the original looks pretty fun. Yeah. I seeing him jam two large nails into the kneecaps of a guy and then electrocute him with just flicking on the light switch, just because he just wants his little baby back.
Yeah,
you know, I respect that. So he's a good protector.
It's something every dad dreams of doing.
Yeah. Honestly, I think dads that take the law into their own hands and commits harm on others is the best dad.
Okay. Well,
do you guys have any other picks?
I don't know that I totally agree with that. But I'm going to bring up...
Cameron Poe from Con Air.
Oh, my God. I'm going to bring up...
The bunny
Shut the fuck
down.
up. Shut the fuck up. I want to bring up my dad's favorite cinematic dad, which is Anakin Skywalker and or Darth Vader. Not necessarily a great dad, but my dad loves him.
He's one of the best cinematic dads, for sure.
He's one of the most iconic cinematic dads.
That was a big moment.
And then the last one I'll bring up is Sean Connery as Henry Jones.
Yes. Were you looking at my phone?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that one on there. But
Yeah, Sean Connery as Henry Jones in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I feel like that movie does a really good job depicting that dynamic of father-son relationships where your dad can just kind of put you in your place.
I love that scene where, because Indiana Jones Jr. has been sleeping with that German girl.
Okay, well this is not.
And then Sean Connery said something like, "Oh yeah, she says this." He said, "How do you know she says that?" She talks in her sleep. Hell yeah, hell yeah, Daddy Jones.
God.
That's funny.
You look very tired.
Alexis, do you have any other ones?
I'm tired as a woman in this world.
Bendy?
Oh God.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Do you have any other picks, Alexis? Because I have one.
Do you? Yeah. Let's hear this one.
Have you guys seen Life is Beautiful? About the
I have not, but I've heard it's
in,
very good.
That is a very, very, very heartbreaking, but very, very heartwarming film about the Holocaust and the ghettos. And it's about Guido Orefice, who's an Italian Jew who him and his family get sent to a ghetto. And what's weird is it's a comedy, but at no point does it ever make fun of the atrocities. It's just about the father doing everything he can to keep the illusion alive to his young son that this is all just a game. So don't worry about it. So it's so powerful. It will break your heart, but it's one of the best cinematic dads ever put to screen. Go for it, Alexis.
Train to Busan. How many times can I mention Train to Busan on this goddamn podcast?
Not enough.
Not enough, because we have not one, but two great dads in that film. We have one who becomes a great dad, and we have one that never gets to be the great father that we know that he would have been. So yeah, those are two of my picks. I love them.
Nice. Oh man, yeah. Life is Beautiful is that movie that Mel Brooks fucking hates.
He hates it?
Yeah, he thinks that's like an extremely offensive depiction of the Holocaust.
I don't agree, but all right. What would he know?
Yeah. What would Mel Brooks know about treading the fine line of ridiculing fascism?
I don't know. Zach, have you seen it?
I've seen a little bit of it.
It's really fucking
good. I didn't really
good.
care for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. It's tonally very strange.
Oh, I don't agree. Don't agree.
But why are we talking about cinematic dads?
Alexis?
We are talking about cinematic dads because Lawrence Fishburne played a man named Furious Styles in the movie Boyz n the Hood, 1991, directed by John Singleton. And in doing so, honestly kind of became a father figure to a whole generation of fatherless young men. So...
He is like an incredible fucking dad, this movie.
yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna real quick read the description of Boyz n the Hood, which is weirdly classified as a crime thriller on Google. I would not call this a crime thriller really at all.
I'm surprised it doesn't call it a documentary, because have you been noticing that Google calls everything a documentary? Have you noticed that? Something's wrong with the algorithm.
Anyways, Boyz n the Hood. Trey, Cuba Gooding Jr., is sent to live with his father, Furious Styles, Larry Fishburne, in tough South Central Los Angeles. Although his hard-nosed father instills proper values and respect in him, and his devout girlfriend Brandy, Nia Long, teaches him about faith, Trey's friends Doughboy, Ice Cube, and Ricky, Morris Chestnut, don't have the same kind of support and are drawn into the neighborhood's booming drug and gang culture with increasingly tragic results.
I'd say Google watched the movie.
Yeah.
I'd say that's pretty good.
I mean, I wouldn't say Ricky is really drawn into gang culture, although he does face the
all he does
it.
is interact and then reap the repercussions of that. So
Yeah, he sticks up for himself, and then that's too much, apparently.
Yeah. Alexis, you picked this film.
Good movie.
Yeah, neither of us had seen it. What was your relationship to Boyz n the Hood coming into it?
I mean, my sisters are 11 and 15 years older than me. So, I mean, like, they grew up predominantly in the 90s. So a lot of 90s cinema is, a lot of, like, late 80s and 90s cinema is kind of, like, especially, like, in pertaining to, like, what was really in the culture at that time, what was big in the culture at that time, was kind of in the zeitgeist for, things that I had seen with them growing up. And in particular, me and Natalie have watched a lot of movies together. And this was one of the ones that, we just always knew it was a really fucking good movie. And so when I thought about like what movie we should cover, I thought like, oh, well, number one, like John Singleton, he's the youngest person to ever get nominated for Best Director and the only black man to be nominated for at that time to be nominated for Best Director in that category. And just in general, like the movie just kind of changed the landscape of how Hollywood kind of treated similar stories to this. This kind of hadn't been done yet at this point. So I just thought like it was culturally relevant to the month that we're covering, and it means something to me because it was kind of one of the first like like not just a comedy, all black, like, because, like I grew up watching Barbershop and Friday, but this is the movie that like kick-started Ice Cube's fucking like acting career. I mean, it kick-started like most of the people's careers in this movie, including the casting director and like, like a lot of the people. So I just thought
the casting director of this movie, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of these people, except for Lawrence Fishburne, were unknowns.
Yeah, and Lawrence Fishburne wasn't like... this is one of his last movies where he's credited as Larry Fishburne.
Larry Fishburne.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I as I said, I had never seen this movie beforehand, and I really fucking like this movie. I think the thing that I find so impressive about this movie is like it's such a fucking confident feature debut. Like it's a movie that's like, okay, it's depicting gang violence and crime, but it's not sensationalizing that in any way, and it's really not putting the focus on that really hard throughout the movie. Like, honestly, the things that this reminds me the most of are like, obviously, I mean, this literally references Stand By Me. But the other one is like American Graffiti, or came out maybe the same year, Dazed and Confused. Like these coming of age, like kind of hangout movies.
It's funny you say that, because as we were watching it, I was like, this reminds me a lot of Dazed and Confused. It's more of a serious film, has more to say.
And it has more of like a scope on these kids' lives, because it starts with that incredible like half hour where they're like little kids.
Yeah. Great like, performances, by the way, from the kids.
Yeah, but
Good
I was
actors.
just like, I was so impressed by how this movie can like be so serious-minded in its intent, but not feel like, what's the word? Like it's preaching.
It's not sanctimonious.
Yeah, it's so fucking confident, and it's made by a guy who's fucking 23 years old. Like, what the fuck,
22
John?
when they started filming this.
Yeah, like literally fucking
He
fresh
was like
out of film
straight
school.
out of film school. Did you watch the documentary of the making of? Did you watch that, Zach?
I did not. I've watched some interviews with John Singleton, but I didn't watch the whole documentary. Please.
I assume
watched
you did
the
though, right?
whole almost 45-minute documentary on this, and I have like so many
Homework.
notes.
Hit us.
Okay, so one of the things that they mentioned this towards the end, but I thought that you guys would find this really interesting, and I think it kind of also can reference back to American Fiction, the movie that just came out this last year. But originally, the marketing slogan that John Singleton had wanted for this movie was "Increase the Peace." That was supposed to be the original marketing campaign. It was supposed to be on all the posters, but the marketing team thought that, no, like that just seems like lame, like the woman who, was the creative executive for this film. She had literally just been promoted from reader at Columbia to studio executive, and she was trying to find somebody to replace her as a reader. And John Singleton was, had been, interning, was looking for a job, and she, I think, interviewed with him, and then she found out he had a script, and she read it, and she was just so blown away by it, so like emotionally invested in it, that she was like, I'm going to fucking like take this to people, and like, we're going to see if we can like make this happen. And she was the one who said that she thought that maybe the marketing team thought that the "Increase the Peace" slogan was like kind of like a lame take on it. And which, I think is the wrong choice, but I think it was very important because actually they were getting like a lot of gang members and stuff were going to go see this movie at this time. Like, it was so like culturally like in the zeitgeist, like especially like in LA, that like, like John Singleton literally like went to, I think he said, to fucking Universal to go see the film, and like there was a bunch of fucking, I think he said like, people all in red in the theater, and then he saw some fucking like, I think it's Crips that are in blue, right? Two of them like walk up to the theater, and like he tried to tell the security guard like, hey man, like don't let them get in there, it's gonna be all bad. Anyways, you guys should really check out the documentary. It's pretty wild, and just like the experience of John Singleton being like literally straight out of film school and getting his, like, he had literally only done silent Super 8 films before he did this film. He had not directed anything close to this before. And he really looked up to, like, Spike Lee, so he wanted to have, like, an all-black, crew, and, that wasn't really being done at the time, And one of the other wild things that I found out is that they were actually getting, like, threats on, like, the crew members from, like, gang members and stuff, and like they literally had to direct Transpo to like put the semis in front of where they were shooting on Crenshaw to make sure that like the crew was going to be able to stay safe,
Yeah, I read an interview with John Singleton, and he mentioned that there was a ambiguous but definite threat on Ice Cube's life. During the night they were shooting the scene where those three guys end up getting, spoiler, assassinated at the burger joint.
Yeah, the guys who killed Ricky.
Yeah, and because of how they were dressed, because I think they were dressed like Bloods, I believe.
Yeah, they're wearing red.
They were in red, yeah.
There were people that like went up to John and the producers going that, look, you have Ice Cube wasting three guys that look like Bloods in an area where this is where the Bloods territory is, so we have to shoot this someplace else, because otherwise someone's gonna go after Ice Cube, which is pretty crazy to think about. And personally, as someone who does work on films, I've been on sets where a director will make interesting choices with where we're going to shoot and put the crew sometimes in not a great situation just for the sake of authenticity, because it's real. So I don't want to really speak to the ethics of that, but still, in regards to the picture, you definitely feel that this has a singular voice. I also had never seen this before, and it's definitely light on plot, but it is heavily steeped in story. And it's a real bummer. I mean, it is a real, it's a deflation at the end, but it's incredibly powerful. And, you know, I was thinking about as the movie was going on that, you know, you see a lot of the events coming, but I would hesitate to say, and I kind of put this in my review, I would hesitate to say that this movie is predictable. It feels more like just depressingly inevitable because of the environment and because of
and
the systems that have been put in place that have put this Black community in this area, in that situation. I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, in a way it's predictable, but that's kind of the whole fucking point.
Yeah, I mean, the way Singleton sets up the movie with the statistic that's something like, at the time, one in 17.
One in every 21. One in every 21.
Yeah, 1 in every 21 Black men will be murdered.
And like half of that or something like that is at the hands of another Black man, which is just so tragic.
And you really get the two moments that are like, oh, these are, you know, systems in place to, you know, be conducive to this sort of like desperation and violence and like, you know, humanizing the guys who are perpetrating violence against our lead characters. There's the first scene where there's the break-in at Furious's house where he fires his gun at the guy who's broken in. And young Trey is like, I wish you'd shot him, Daddy. And he's like, don't ever say that. Don't ever wish to, you know, harm on another Black man.
You know,
and the really fucking great moment is that scene that we were talking about where the three guys who kill Ricky are killed.
Oh, in the burger joint.
Yeah, you get like a minute at the burger joint where they're just like hanging out, eating a burger,
having a regular conversation,
and like talking about the guy who shot Ricky going over to his girlfriend's place. It's like, oh yeah, like there's an entire probably very similar movie about like these guys living in South Central LA. Like these are also just fucking teenagers, you know? Like these for the rest of the movie, it's like you have, you know, all of your fucking dumb teen boys like lying about having had sex. Like, you know, these are impulsive fucking, like I think about the shit I got up to at 17. It's like, yeah, you make dumb fucking decisions, but like, you know, I was raised in an environment where like, you know, in a fucking affluent white environment where like there are not very many things that can actually like threaten the life of a, you know, idiot 17-year-old boy. And, you know, that's not the case in this movie. And you fucking, that's really driven home in the third act.
Yeah.
I think that's why that second act is so important, where you just get to kind of hang out with these guys being kids.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of wild because, you know, Singleton was only like 22 when he was making the movie, and the cast is predominantly, he was saying, like 17 to 20. So like when they're filming the cookout scene at the very beginning of the movie, when you see them like all grown up.
I heard about this.
It was kind of more like they were just like having a party, you know, and it was kind of hard to rein them in a little bit.
I believe that actually, as I was watching it, it felt very real. There's like a cookout, and I thought it was funny. Yeah, reading that like this was like John Singleton's first time directing, so he kind of had to cut his teeth a little bit. He had to learn the reins, and partly it did go a little wrong because that cookout became a real one. So people just started showing up, which is great. Looks great for the film, and it brings an authenticity to it.
It looks fun. I want to go.
As anyone who has worked on a set, you will know that trying to wrangle in real people, trying to have a real good time. Like, I'm so sorry. The actors right now are actually like delivering dialogue. So if you could just keep doing what you're doing, but mouth it, that's a hard ask with non-actors. But shit, I was going to say something else, but I don't remember it. So go ahead, Alexis.
The other scene that I find really important is when he takes them they're like, they come over to Furious's place of business and they're like, how's business? And he's like, well, you know, getting loans for people. Da, da, da. He's like, can I show you guys something? They're like, do we have a choice? And he's like, no. And so he takes them to this fucking billboard over in Compton, right? And it's basically like a get cash for your house now kind of thing. And the thing is that like, I see those kind of signs up all the time in my dad's neighborhood over here in Fresno, you know, and people be calling like my phone because I'm listed with my dad's number all the time, trying to see if he will sell like any of the houses that he owns in that area. Fucking vultures. So Furious takes them to this fucking billboard and basically explains like what gentrification is by, you know, they bring down the value of when the value of the fucking neighborhood goes down, they swoop in, they buy up all these properties, they push all the regular people out, and then they raise the value of the home so that they can sell them at a profit. And, you know, just keep the fucking system running, right? And I mean, like, we've all seen that be like happening like in LA. I mean, I know that I see it a lot where I'm from here in Fresno. People do that all the time. They buy up these older homes from people that like need the money, and then they flip them and they make them basically like unserviceable, like way too expensive to rent for anybody that could actually live in that neighborhood. And so they push out all the people that would normally live in these neighborhoods.
That falls like dominoes.
It's also interesting that oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, but so
I was just gonna say that billboard. Oh,
Zach, shut the fuck up.
The billboard says "soul to soul," right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's Koreans moving into this neighborhood, and this movie comes out a year before the 92 LA riots, which had a ton of fucking interracial conflict between Korean people and black people in LA.
You really should see that documentary because they talk so much about how tense the situation was in LA at the time that they were making this movie. And I mean, like, obviously, since we know about history, we know that the riots happened like the year afterwards, right? So, like, we're all aware of like how fucking tense it could have been, you know, and hearing them talk about it is pretty wild because then that's how they end up talking about like the gang threats and stuff like during the making of the movie and on Ice Cube and everything. But so Furious is talking about this, and you get like this group of like young folk who come up to kind of like, you know, hear what he's saying. And then you get this older man from the neighborhood who comes up and he says, the reason why the property value is going down is because of these ones, you know, they're selling drugs and, you know, shooting up each other and da-da-da-da. Right. And Furious has to be like, yeah, I mean, like, that's really, who do you think brought the drugs? We don't have ships. We don't have, like, airplanes. Who do you think's bringing the drugs into the country? You know, it's just, this was the first time you'd seen in a movie a character like this telling all the rest of us what really is going on, you know? It's, you know, it's the director's self-insert of like, you know, trying to explain to the rest of American audiences what is happening in these neighborhoods.
Yeah, you know what I really like about that scene is, I mean, you know, he brings the kids there to give him a quick history lesson, basically, to talk to him about the situation. And then it almost becomes like a sermon where they even, I think one of the guys asked him, like, is your dad like a pastor or something? Because that shit was hella powerful.
Yeah, that's Ricky later on.
And, you know, what's interesting about that speech is, again, it's so easy to take for granted that a lot of the things that Furious Styles is talking about is something that we are taught as a class, as a curriculum in university. So a lot of the stuff that he's, not all of us, but those of us who go to university, typically we're taught that. And when you listen to it, you kind of think like, yeah, I mean, I get it. This is basic. This is pretty basic. And it reminds me a lot of the America Ferrera speech in Barbie.
Okay.
Hey, hold on, buddy,
Yes.
But I gotta say,
man, I was thinking about this.
It's like, okay, yeah, we get it. Like, this is all like, this is basic. But you can't criticize the film for having a basic down to earth 101 talk about the fucking simple aspects, the basics of this stuff, because it's fucking important. And as you said, Alexis, this hadn't really been talked about before. So in the time of which it's made, you have to remember that this shit was like cutting edge at the time for wide audiences and a lot of people.
But
and so go for it.
Are all universities? I think sometimes we take for granted the fact that we live on the West Coast and we live in predominantly like liberal areas, and our university systems reflect that. But are all universities across America do they actually have those in their requirements to teach those?
Well, I can't speak
classes?
to that, but I do know that at least what he's talking about is, I mean, especially now with the internet and stuff like that, and especially after the George Floyd protests, you have a lot of this part of the regular conversation. And so my point is, it's important to remember that this speech, while, again, bringing it down to the fundamentals, sometimes you need to fucking talk about the fundamentals.
Okay, but the other connection to the America Ferrera thing, just really quick, is that the thing that I see as being a connection to that, maybe even more than it being like a basic, bones explanation of a social issue. I think that both the America Ferrera speech and this Lawrence Fishburne speech, Alexis, as you were saying, this Lawrence Fishburne speech is kind of a director self-insert. And the America Ferrera one is too, a little bit. I think the reason that I don't particularly like the monologue in Barbie, and why I do like this scene so much, is that, to me, America Ferrera's character doesn't feel as, like, specific and lived in as Lawrence Fishburne does in this movie. Because, I mean, John Singleton has talked about how the sort of inciting incident, if you will, of Boyz n the Hood, of this young black boy going to live with his dad to teach him, essentially, how to be a man, is reflective of his own experience when he was, like, 12. He said he went and lived with his dad, who, quote, whipped him into shape. And I think that, like, this performance and this character of Furious Styles is so, like, specific that, like, I believe that he's going to bring his son and his son's friend to this place to explain gentrification to them, because they're about to, enter the adult world and they need to know this stuff. Like, I buy his...
You buy it as a narrative device.
I buy his character, and I buy him doing that more than I buy the moment in Barbie.
You do get to just see Lawrence, you just get to see Furious, like, as a character in his own house. I mean, you can tell that he reads, because when you see him in bed, you see books behind him on the bookshelf.
The whole apartment's books or house.
Yeah. And the other thing is that at the very beginning of the movie, you find out that he's a Vietnam veteran, and that he knows firsthand experience about how the government doesn't give a shit about you, especially if you're a black man in the service, So, like, there's a lot of context that we get for his character that makes us know that he's been in the system, not just in the fact that he's growing up in a poverty-ridden area, but the fact that he's been in, like, the governmental system itself, and he knows what they're about. And he's now, he's padded that with, like, doing reading since then. Really
He's also
great.
so fucking handsome.
Yeah,
fucking handsome.
Since we're on the topic, I do want to talk about Larry Fishburne.
He's so good.
Like, the scene, one of the first scenes you get is when there's a home invasion. You talked about it before. It's a home invasion in the house. Trey's a kid, and you see Furious reaching for this massive fucking hand cannon. It's a huge gun, really cool. I think we've only been with him for a scene or two when this happens.
Yeah.
And I was as an audience member really fucking worried that Lawrence Fishburne was going to die, because his introduction to him, where he's like leaning into the car window and little Trey is like trying to like look behind him, and Furious is kind of blocking his view because he wants, that's so simple. It's such a simple device of him being present for his child. Yeah. This is a man who is engaging with his child. This is a guy who's being a father the way you're supposed to. And so just from that second or third scene that we have with him, I'm already on the edge of my seat, fucking stressed out of my mind that we're going to lose this guy for Trey, and also just selfishly for me, because I fucking want this guy to live. Like I was so happy
out with Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, and so that's first of all, that's such a credit to John Singleton for writing the screenplay and writing such a fantastic character. But then Lawrence Fishburne just taking it and running with it. He did such a good job. Really love that.
Yeah,
he's also actually, like. Huh? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He's actually the reason why we have Angela Bassett and I think it's Tyra Farrell. So the two mother figures are. Yeah. Wait, is it? I thought it was Tyra Farrell. She's the mother of Doughboy and Ricky.
Please continue.
So John Singleton had asked Lawrence Fishburne, like, oh, is there any actresses that, like, you really would want to work with? And those were the two women that he listed out, and that's why we have them in this film.
Fuck yeah.
Which is crazy because, like, Angela Bassett hadn't done anything big before. Like, I remember the first time I ever saw her in a movie, it was What's Love Got to Do with It from, I think it came out in 1994, and this was, years before that. And so it's just wild to me, like, seeing somebody in a role before they became the superstar that we know them to be.
I shouted and just went, "That's Angela Bassett!"
He did.
Yeah. I think I always say that when she appears on screen.
I can attest to that. I also have to shout out John Mulaney's bit at the Governor's Awards when he said that Angela Bassett got nominated for an Oscar for being in a Marvel movie. That's like winning a Pulitzer Prize for a Reddit comment.
It really is. Bit. Yeah.
But what's crazy to me is that Lawrence Fishburne had been acting since 1979 by the time this movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Apocalypse Now?
Yes. He is 29 years old when this movie shoots.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's how old I'm about to be.
Yeah.
And I am.
That's how old I am.
And you haven't even been in. Yeah, neither of you have been in any fucking Coppola movies. What the fuck?
That's true. Actually,
I've still got a few years.
John Singleton asked Lawrence Fishburne, like, hey, what would Francis do during, like, shooting? And I guess he told him, like, oh, like, we would read the script and then we would do improvs based on our characters. And so, John Singleton, he's just trying to learn. So he was like, okay, well, let's do that. And so they started doing like improvs as their characters. And that's kind of how Lawrence Fishburne understood that Cuba Gooding Jr. as Trey was going to be the perfect fit, because like kind of in this fit of rage, he like punched a wall and punched a hole through the fucking wall. And Lawrence Fishburne had this moment of like, oh shit, this really is a kid who could go either way. Like obviously you got Ice Cube and he totally fits his role.
Wow.
And then you have Ricky Morris Chestnut, who Lawrence Fishburne is like, he's like an angel. You can tell he's angelic,
Yeah.
And then you have Trey in the middle that could go either way, and seeing him get that physicality out really kind of further sold that point to him. So I was like, that's cool.
That's fascinating. That's cool.
Yeah.
I know that Spike Lee did something kind of similar for Do the Right Thing, where he had, before they started shooting, there's even on the Criterion, there's this fantastic behind the scenes kind of documentary of it where all of the cast members are just put in a hot fucking room in Brooklyn and are actually just asked to discuss the politics of the community. Mm-hmm. In like almost like debate, like in character, but just to like, because you have Puerto Ricans, you have white people, and you have black people. So you know what? Let's actually get this shit out.
Yeah.
And it got fucking heated. And so there's footage of actors in it like yelling at each other, and it informed the process. Like, so Spike Lee's like, that's great. Like this is it. This is the pain that we're trying to talk about here.
Well, I like John Singleton asking, what would Francis Ford Coppola do? Because he talked a little bit in an interview about how he, met some of these 70s filmmakers afterward. And he was like, I was kind of nervous about, how they were going to feel about me.
Yeah.
But they actually felt this huge, kinship with me because...
Yeah, they would.
They were also, outsiders from the studio system, kind of hijacking it and taking it for a ride when they were making their early movies. And apparently, John Singleton was on set for a little bit of a film that we have talked about before on this podcast, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Apparently, he was hanging out with Francis Ford Coppola when he was making that a little bit.
That's cool. This is leading up to the production of Boys in the Hood?
I think it might have been right after it shot.
Okay.
The whole reason why he even knew Lawrence Fishburne was because he was a security PA on the Pee Wee Herman show.
What?
Yeah, no, that's
John
true.
Singleton
Is that
was?
wild?
Holy
Yes.
shit.
Yeah, apparently he
Wow.
gave him the script. He was like,
Yeah.
which, again,
No shit.
The fucking confidence of John Singleton.
Well, a lot of friends of his talked about that, where it said, at no point did they ever doubt John Singleton becoming an accomplished and acclaimed filmmaker, because not only did he have confidence, but it was almost like he had a destiny. No one doubted it. Super
I
cool.
have a story that John Singleton told. So when he went into his interview with Columbia Pictures, right? His father had told him, "You have power as long as you pretend like you don't care." Because he'd never directed anything, right? And so he goes into this thing. They're like, "Okay, well, we really like the script." And he's like, "Yeah, that's great. I'm going to direct it." And they're like, "Yeah, okay, great. We've heard that's what you want to do. What if we give you this amount of money and, you can go your own way?" And he was like, "Nah, I'm going to direct it. That's just it. And if I don't get to direct it, I'm just going to leave." And so then they were like, "Okay, cool. Well, I guess we'll give you $6 million and you can go take this to your neighborhood and go shoot it out there or something, But that's
cool.
advice that he got literally from his father, was that you just gotta act like you own it already,
Sexy indifference.
Yeah.
Who said that?
I don't know.
Someone said that there was an actor talking about an audition process. You have to. Oh, that's Jason Bateman. Jason Bateman coined that. You have to have
Okay.
sexy indifference, and the same
I
thing
love
comes
that.
to the negotiating table.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's also a fortuitous time for John Singleton to be coming up in the film industry, which he's kind of talked about how he's coming up right after Spike Lee sort of paved the way for Black Hollywood filmmaking. And he literally talked about in this New York Times interview he gave shortly before he died far too soon, about how he's like, yeah, I gotta be honest, I think I got the director nomination for Boys in the Hood because the Academy realized how bad they fucked up 2 years ago when they didn't nominate Spike Lee for Do the Right Thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he
which is
mentioned
egregious.
He saw a early preview of Do the Right Thing a few years earlier in Hollywood, and he said that he walked out of there absolutely invigorated and told his friends, "I have got to make my own thing now."
Yeah.
It just fucking he already had a fire in his belly, but this lit a fire under his fucking ass, and he it's almost like he willed it into existence.
Yeah, he probably would have started shooting this movie basically right after Do the Right Thing
incredible.
came out, or started pre-production on it, because Do the Right Thing's 89, this is 91. Yeah.
I really love the story of how Ice Cube got on this movie too. Okay.
Oh
so
yeah, I
he knew-
heard about this. This is interesting.
Yeah, so he tried talking to Ice Cube, but Ice Cube just brushed him off until he saw him, I guess, at a party. And this was literally right around the time that Ice Cube had left NWA to go solo, and people thought he was making a huge mistake by going solo and whatever. And I guess John was literally stuck in Hollywood. He had no ride to get home from this fucking party. And so I guess Ice Cube gave him a ride back to campus, and they had gotten him the script, and apparently Ice Cube came in and did a read, hadn't read the script. The read went terrible. And John was like, hey man, did you read the script? And Ice Cube was like, nah, actually, I totally didn't read the script at all. And he's like, okay, well, go read the script and come back, you know? And literally when Ice Cube read the script, it just totally, it shifted his whole mind on it, because like his words were exactly, this is my hood, this is my life, I know this role, is what he said. And he came back and he fucking just crushed it, and everybody was just like, yep, this is how a fucking movie star is like made. He's like born for this.
He's like sneakily maybe the best performance in the movie. That's maybe my hot take.
Wow.
I think his
Sneakily
delivery. I mean, there's a lot of really good performances in this movie.
there is really good performances. Yeah.
Like, basically every single person who is a major speaking role in this movie went on to be a massive fucking movie star.
Yeah.
But I think that the moment that just, like, sticks with me in terms of this movie making its point in, like, a really elegant way is the final scene with Doughboy.
Yeah.
Where he talks about watching the news, and it connects back to the whole Vietnam aspect of Furious's backstory.
Yeah.
He's watching the news and he's hearing about all these terrible things that are happening
All
overseas.
this foreign shit.
And not one mention of my brother. They don't care about, they either don't know, or don't care, essentially, what happens to us.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so brutal. Also,
And he's fucking right. The fucking system doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, he's absolutely fucking right.
Yeah, and I'm very sad that a few years after this, Ice Cube went on to be in John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars, because that movie sucks, and Ice Cube is apparently a huge John Carpenter fan.
I didn't know that NWA was going to be, like, originally they were going to be the cast. Like, Eazy-A and Dr. Dre
Oh, wow.
were all, like, supposed to be, like, the cast in this, but it didn't work out. And so they ended up casting unknowns. The only member who had separate, as you mentioned, had left the group by that time was Ice Cube, which would have been an interesting film, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I really, the section right before they end up going to the store, before Ricky ends up getting shot, Ricky sees a commercial on the TV for the army. And I'm really glad that they, like, put that in there, because, I mean, it's true. The army does prey on those communities. I mean, it's kind of wild to me to think, like, because, like, the school that I went to is kind of in, like, the cuts, you know, and, like, I come from, like, a more, like, lower middle class, like, neighborhood, but there's, and then there's also, like, these kids from, like, a really affluent neighborhood called Quail Lake, but then you also have kids that come from, like, deep cuts, like Parlier and Delray, and, like, you know, it's not really like a high school that, you know, it's like, oh yeah, you know, like, we're all expecting you guys to go to fucking, like, you know, USC or UC Berkeley or places like this, you know, so they, you know, at some point there's military recruiters that come by the school. Did military recruiters come by your guys' school?
Yes.
A little bit, not a lot.
They had us engage in
fact-
pull-up and push-up competitions.
I hate the fact that fucking military recruiters even come to high schools in the first place. Like, they're just preying on the fact that sometimes people don't know what they want to do with their lives, and they don't have fucking money to go to college. My mom's been, like, super fucking anti-military since I was a child. Like, ever since I was growing up,
Hell
it
yeah.
was always, don't sign your way of life to the government. Like, I heard that so many times before even the age of, like, 12. So, like, good on them.
And again, coming back to good cinematic dads, like, that is a great fucking Furious Styles moment when he's like, a black man has no place in the U.S. military.
He would know.
Yeah.
He did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No,
And like so many other fucking veterans, he just kicked off to the fucking curb.
Yeah.
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 Do you guys have some favorite lines? Because I wrote down some of my favorite lines from the movie.
I didn't write down any of my favorite lines, so go ahead, take it away.
I didn't write down anything, but my favorite lines would be those final ones delivered by Doughboy at the end there.
Oh, I really like so when, Furious calls the cops during that break-in, and then they're waiting out there for a fucking hour for these cops to show up. The cops show up, they're fucking clearly got some fucking, like, drive-through food before they even came and saw them. And the guy is just acting a fool with fucking Furious. And he, towards the very end of the interaction, Furious has Trey go in the house, and then the cop is like, something wrong? And Furious is like, something wrong? Yeah, something's wrong. It's just too bad you don't know what it is.
That cop is fucking nuts.
Yeah, that cop was nuts.
The black cop who keeps harassing them, apparently also, like, inspired by interactions.
I'm sure
Singleton had.
Regina King.
Cue the song Black Cop by KRS-One.
I heard someone say, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, it matters the color of your uniform.
Yeah, Regina King in the documentary was even saying, because, like, they're talking about, like, the time period in which they were, shooting the movie and, how tense everything was. And she was saying, like, everybody that she knew, like, if you ever got pulled over by the cops, like, you just, like, black men just knew to put their hands out the window, because that way that they wouldn't get shot before, like, the cops got up to the window, So, anyways, on a lighter note, I love the friendship group between Doughboy and is it Dookie and Monster. They're fucking funny. And then Chris, they say something like, I think Doughboy says, "Motherfucker so skinny you could hula hoop through a Cheerio."
Yep.
Love that one.
That's a good one.
That was such a good one. Okay, and then when fucking Doughboy is trying to chase tail with some, like, Latina honeys, right? And he's slinging some, like, little bit of Spanish he knows, and then he goes, "Let me knock that stuffing off that Egg McMuffin." I was like, oh my god, please.
I think that might have been the point where I wrote down that Ice Cube is on his Rizzler shit. I'm embarrassed that that's in my notes, but it's there. You know what interaction I fucking love is when Trey is switching phone calls between his girlfriend and his mom.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
And he's like, "So you want to give me the skins or what?" And then Angela Bassett just goes, "Trey, this is your mother." That really got me.
That's like something else.
That made me laugh.
Yeah,
that made me
hilarious.
laugh so hard. I think it is Trey, or is it Ricky, when they're, like, walking into the dad's, like, business place. He says, "Baby got more cakes than Duncan Hines." I'm gonna use that in the future. Also, I just wanted to note that I think about this quite often, and I've watched a lot of, like, therapy, like, videos and, like, things, but it really is true that, like, no two children have the same parents, and you can really see that between Doughboy and Ricky, with their mom, and the way that she, even just at such a young age, has decided exactly where Doughboy is going to end up and what's up with Ricky. And I don't know if that I think maybe it might have something to do with the two of them having different fathers, and maybe representative of who the different fathers were as people. Because a lot of times I think parents kind of have this, like, like assumptions of, like, things that you do as a person, and then they think that reflects, like, on your character, something that you got from your other parent sometimes, which is, the wrong thing to think, but it's just really wild, the two completely different experiences that those two children have just in that single household.
Yeah. Speaking of, I felt so bad for Doughboy after, was it Ricky, the brother?
Yeah, Ricky.
After he tragically gets killed, and it's just fucking, it's chaos. It's really, really awful. And they're bringing him back to the house. And, it's been kind of not so subtly hinted at that the mother has a favorite out of those two boys. And when Ricky's bloody body is brought in onto the couch, she just starts, she's in utter confusion and doesn't really know what to do, but just starts wailing on Doughboy, like, what did you do?
And
what did you do?
After Doughboy's trying to like console her and hold her.
Like, why are you, And
like, the notion that like the expectations placed on you by your parents color your future so much. Mm-hmm. Like you look at Doughboy as a little kid, and he's just like this, like, little kid who loves comic books precious. And like, it like wants to get his protect his brother and get his brother's football back. And like you see that he is like so much more than like the expectations put on him, like both by society and particularly by his mother. Yeah. With like, you hear him talking about like, I was reading books when I was in juvie. Like,
it was really sad too, because right before that, him and his brother get in a fight before he goes to the store.
Yeah.
And it's really sad how he just kept repeatedly asking, after the mom came in and broke it up and hit Doughboy, he's like, why are you hitting me? Yeah. She doesn't answer. Why are you hitting me? Doesn't answer and just keeps walking. And that summarizes that dynamic incredibly well and succinctly. And it's really sad. And God, just seeing Doughboy fade in the end to nothing after he like was murdered 2 weeks later was fucking knife to the heart. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What an ending. Speaking of which, if I may, I would like to talk about another character in the film that's not really a character, but it might as well fucking be one, which is the environment, the setting.
Yeah.
The I want to talk about like the dystopian aspect of Crenshaw, which is just constant ghetto birds, constantly. And it's interesting because like once they introduce like all the police helicopters, it's there the whole time. That the amount of sound pollution that exists for these neighbors with with police sirens, just the constant the sound of the helicopters and the searchlight and everything, and it creates such an uneasy kind of feeling to it, like especially when that representative from the university comes to talk to Ricky, like that's all he can like really think about. It's like he keeps looking up into the sky about like, is this normal? And the crazy thing is, like, Zach and I, we live in the valley, right?
Yeah.
Fucking constantly. There's police helicopters here. And you get used to it. But like watching this film, it really goes, it like kind of just shows like how fucking nuts it is that this is a normal thing for certain parts of Los Angeles. And
this constant police presence, yet, as is depicted throughout the movie, the fucking complete lack of help from,
and it's not they're not there to there to help.
They don't fucking serve the community one bit.
So it's really
like, some guy broke into your house, whatever.
It's honestly, it feels like intimidation tactics. Not to get all conspiracy or whatever the fuck it is, but I really think it's true. Like, I mean, their presence constantly like that. It was really powerful. So I think the setting of it, with again the sound and everything, and then also again, with all of the like the hip hop music and the cookouts and people just hanging out on the streets, it's like it's not a wholly like bad environment necessarily. Like there are still aspects of it. It's like a complex character. It has its good and it has its bad. So I just thought that was really interesting. And that John Singleton, again, I think it speaks to the fact that he knew that shit. As the saying goes, write what you know.
I think it was actually just going on while they were shooting there. Like, that's just what was the noise in the background a lot of times.
Was it really?
I think so.
Is that what they said in the behind the scenes?
Yeah, so when they were talking about the scene where, like, after Trey gets into, like, this light altercation with has the run-in with the cops, you know, after, which I'm going to talk about the scene that happened right before that when they shoot the gun off. But so when the cop intimidates him and literally, like, pulls a gun on him, you know, he's obviously visibly shaken. Who wouldn't be in that situation? And he goes to his girlfriend's house, and you could see even she was having like this moment of like, you know, she's so stressed because, you know, she's hearing fucking, you know, shots pop off in the distance or whatever, you know, and she's just trying to do her homework, you know, she just wants to go to college. And she comes downstairs, he comes in, and he's upset. He's so tired of living in this life and in this environment, and he starts crying. And apparently, like, when they shot that scene, like, those noises in the background were really going on. And I guess even the grips that were on set, they all started crying. Like because the emotion in the scene that Cuba was bringing to it, and the script, like, it was just real for everybody that was like on set. So I thought that was a very interesting detail.
Wow.
Yeah. I also think it's like, how often, I mean, even now, but like, I'm sure in 1991, like, how often do you see, like, a black man cry on screen?
Right.
You know? Just, like, get to be emotionally vulnerable and get to, like, be held by the person he loves. Like, I don't know. I think that's, like, a really nice... Again, speaks to, like, the humanity that John Singleton is, like, so concerned with infusing this movie with.
I think it's also really important to note that there's, like, him and his girlfriend never have sex until right then. And I think that part of, you know, obviously she probably wanted to comfort him, but also up until that point, he had been kind of fronting, you know, with her, you know, kind of putting on this, like, persona of, like, you know, we should just do it, you know, like, let's just do it, you know, like, kind of making it all about just, like, the sex. But he finally has this moment of, like, really showing her, like, who he is, what he's scared of. And I think that vulnerability that he has in that scene is what actually, you know, makes them end up in bed together. You know, I think that was something that, like, needed to happen in their relationship for her to probably feel comfortable with, you know, even having sex with him. So I'm glad that, you know, that didn't happen until then. So.
Yeah. I think that, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but I find it really interesting that the filmmaker who I think John Singleton has brought up as, like, oh, this was kind of a influence on, like, the type of movie I felt like I was making is John Hughes. You know? Yeah, which, again, like, you know, this is... I mean, for a movie that
I can kind of see that.
For a movie that kind of, like, kicked off a lot of movies about, like, living in as a black person in, like, urban settings and gang violence. Like, this is a movie that it's about growing up. Like,
I think this might be a hot take, but I think this is better than anything John Hughes ever made.
Yeah, maybe. I am a sucker for Ferris Bueller.
I'm not a big John Hughes fan, so let me preface it with that.
I don't like The Breakfast Club that much.
Yeah,
well, you know me, I fucking love Pretty in Pink, so
I do know. I do think it's funny that, like, the fact that this is, you know, John Hughes, like, was kind of a bit of an influence on this, that this is the movie you pick. It's like, oh, of course, Alexis is coming in with a coming-of-age film once again.
Well, I mean, the
it.
reason why it's also so good is because, like, the music that's in it, and also just, like, what people are rocking in their style. Like, I mean, you had
Great fucking style, yeah.
So the shirt that Cuba Gooding Jr.'s Trey wears to the cookout in the beginning, that yellow kind of, like, color blocked thing that's got going on, he wore that at his first read with Lawrence Fishburne, and John was like, hey, can you wear that on set? Like, that's straight from his, like, own closet, So and
awesome.
those are things that John Hughes, like, kind of did in, like, like 16 Candles or Pretty in Pink, like there was a lot of influence from Molly Ringwald and, like, what she wanted to wear, and, like, the thrift store kind of finds that the costume designer had chosen and stuff. So, I mean, I think John just really did well because, like, he didn't have a lot of ego because he was so completely new. And so a lot of what's really good about this film is the collaboration between him and all these other people, which is what we know to be excellent filmmaking, is the collaboration that happens between all these artists.
Yeah, Zach.
What the fuck, man? You were a goddamn fucking department head on my short film. We had so many meetings where we, like, worked together. Man, what the fuck? God, look at that bus rolling over my poor little broken body.
Oh my God.
Jesus. Fuck you, man.
I had to.
One last story from the documentary. So, the scene where they all drive off after the gun gets shot in the air by the people that are, like, I guess they are gang members, right? The ones that end up shooting Ricky at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they end up shooting an Uzi up into the air, right? So actually, John Singleton did not tell anybody that was, like, in that scene that they were going to be shooting the Uzi up into the air, right? He just told everybody that's, like, on the street, like, near their cars, like, talking, chit-chatting. He was like, all right, when you hear something, just be ready to drive.
Wow.
So the fear that they did one take of that scene, and the fear that is in everybody's fucking face when they're fleeing from the sound of the Uzi being shot into the air is real.
That's not safe.
I assume that, like,
not a safe thing to do.
I assume that the crew and the people in the area knew they were fucking doing that.
I fucking hope so. Because as an AD, I don't like that story. I do not like that story.
I mean, I don't know exactly how far away the guys were when they were shooting the Uzi in the air, like, those are details that are not in the documentary, but very specifically, it was the people that were going to be on camera that did not have that. So I don't know. But I was like, wow, that seems... I literally watched that scene and I was like, somebody could have gotten hurt with everybody just rolling away really quick.
Yeah, well, I just want to say that, like, again, if you listen to this podcast, when I talked in our best of 2023 episode about the, like, shooting scare that I had at the AMC, that, like, palpable panic and, like, everyone running and, like, the chaos of that.
Yeah.
That scene where the gun went off, like, took me right back to that. Just, like, the expressions of fucking panic on it. I don't know. There was something about it that just, like, really put me back in that experience.
Yeah.
So, good job.
As I think it was Peter O'Toole that said it. It's called acting, my dear boy.
Well, apparently it was not acting.
Yeah. I will say, though,
Can't argue with the results.
One thing that John Singleton did that I think is pretty fucking cool is I heard that on day one, because, again, he had never directed a feature film before. On day one, call time apparently was 7 a.m. for general crew. He showed up at 5:30 before the trucks got there and just watched everything unload. He was there trying to provide a good vibe, and apparently everyone agreed that it was a really great set. They had a really good first day. Fuck yeah, I think I could do this. This is great. Fuck, this is easier than I thought it was. Then he got word that a couple of the film reels got exposed prematurely before they made it to the dark room. So quite a bit of what they shot on day one was ruined. And so he got his first taste of, right, okay.
Yeah, he's talked about how this movie kind of shot in sequence, and he has like said that like, yeah, I can watch Boyz n the Hood and like watch myself become a better director as the movie plays.
Right.
It's really funny to hear him talk about, because like, you know, he was saying like, I was 22, all the people at this cookout were like 17 to 20, and like he's like, they're all having a great time. I was not having a good time. And he was like, I really wanted to be having a good time with everybody else, but I was not.
Yeah.
That's so real.
Honestly, our main topic of this episode was cinema's, you know,
greatest dads.
Best dads. But honestly, like, I think my main takeaway from this conversation is basically just the inspiration of being a hard-nosed filmmaker, of him just being someone who knows what he has, knows what he wants, but he's also even-handed and not a bad person to work for or to work with as a collaborator. So if you're out there and you're thinking about like trying to tell a story or make a movie, like John Singleton's story is incredibly inspiring.
Yes, absolutely inspiring.
Also,
be a John Singleton.
Yeah, the casting director, her name's Jackie Brown. She went on to fucking be a casting director for so many fucking things, including Jackie Brown.
Are you fucking kidding me? That's crazy.
I'm not even joking. She also did the casting for Eve's Bayou.
Fuck yeah.
A movie that we're actually not
going to talk about next time, but I might
to.
I might watch Eve's Bayou. I might try to watch that before
I
our
might
next
watch
episode.
Eve's Bayou by you. Really close by you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Alexis, do you have anything else you want to say on Boyz n the Hood? Thank you for directing this conversation and doing your fucking homework, because we only kind of did.
I even spoke to Zach. I was like, I've done a lot of homework for the last couple episodes, but this one I did a little bit, so hopefully some other people, you know, did their stuff.
Hopefully Alexis hopped on it.
Yeah,
I really
Alexis,
just
you killed
felt
it.
like, since, well, you know, it's a very culturally important film, and I picked it, and it is also has some very heavy material. So I was like, I really need to bring something extra to this episode. So I was like, oh shit, they got a making of. I'm gonna watch that.
Well,
Alexis is saying I can't have the white boys try to run this because it'll be an unmitigated
they're
disaster.
gonna fucking blow it.
Yeah, and you're probably right, Alexis. I'll give you that one. I'm picking up what you're putting down, and goddamn it, you might be right.
Well, so yeah, we will be hopping to the early 2000s to discuss Love and Basketball, directed by Gina Prince Bythewood and starring Sana Lathan and Omar Epps.
Sweet. I haven't seen it.
Nor have I.
Great.
Yes, Alexis?
Quick side note. If you liked Boyz n the Hood, check out Poetic Justice, which was the movie that John Singleton did right after Boyz n the Hood. Janet Jackson and the boy Tupac. So,
all right, good.
That was close. That was close enough. I saw that. I saw that. That looks really interesting. He also did a movie with Snoop Dogg.
It's kind of a family favorite, to be honest.
Okay.
What?
Didn't he do a movie with Snoop Dogg as well? Like, I feel like some of hip hop's greatest artists have all like starred or have been in a John Singleton film, which is pretty fucking dope.
Interesting.
But that's not what we're talking about next episode.
No, we're talking about Love and Basketball, which you can find on Showtime, Paramount Plus, and you can also rent it. And if you want to find us, the Film Majors, on social media, you can find us at Film Majors Pod on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok. Also, go vote on our poll for next month's theme, because next month we are doing an audience select theme. I will link it in the show notes. It will be on our social media. Go vote, people. And with that, I'm going to bid you adieu.
See you next week, folks.